Great morning, great morning. Come on in, come on in, come on in, and make sure that you share this broadcast. Come in and make sure that you share the broadcast. And while you're sharing, I'm also going to share. Let me share. Come on in. Amen, amen. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. Let me know who's here and where you are tuning in from. Great morning, you guys. Hey, Ray, good to see you. I'm going to be hitting you up. Look forward to hearing from me, okay? Come on in, you guys. Listen, there is truly a word from the Lord on today, and I want to make sure that you're able to get that. I'm not going to keep you on here long, but I am going to say what God says to say, the way God says to say it, for as long as God says to say it. And when he's done, I'm done. We're done. Okay. How about that? Make sure you share the broadcast so that others might be blessed by the word of the Lord on today. I am excited, and I'm going to tell you why I'm excited. I'm excited because God has a plan. He has a plan that is going to supersede your expectations, a plan that is going to blow your mind, a plan that is going to reveal to you that which he has already predestined before the foundation of the earth and how you can access it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started. If you would, in your Bibles, whether we're talking the app or the physical Bible, go to the book of Hebrews. The book of Hebrews, chapter 13. I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation. Hebrews, chapter 12, I'm sorry. Hebrews, chapter 12, starting with verse 1. Stacy, if you would. All right. And the word of the Lord reads, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. Let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not yet given your lives in struggle against sin. And have you forgotten the encouraging words God spoke to you as his children? He said, my child, don't make light of the Lord's discipline and don't give up when he corrects you. For the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes each one he accepts as his child. As you endure this divine discipline, remember that God is treating you as his own children. Who ever heard of a child who is never disciplined by its father? If God doesn't discipline you as he does all of his children, it means that you are illegitimate and are not really his children at all. Since we respected our earthly fathers who disciplined us, shouldn't we submit even more to the discipline of the Father of our spirits and live forever? For our earthly fathers disciplined us for a few years, doing the best they knew how. But God's discipline is always good for us, so that we might share in his holiness. No discipline is enjoyable while it's happening. It's painful, but afterward, there will be a peaceful harvest of right living for those who are trained in this way. So take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that those who are weak and lame will not fall, but will become strong. Baby, it is time to run our race. Listen, I titled today's message, You're a Runner, You're a Track Star. And I'm going to tell you why. Listen, in the song, You're a Runner, You're a Track Star, it says, You're a runner, she's a runner, she's a track star. She's gonna run away when it gets hard. Listen, I want to change those lyrics. You're a runner and you're a track star. You are going to run even when it's hard. In other words, even when it's hard, you're going to continue your race. Even when it's challenging, you're going to continue your race. Even when you're tired, you're going to continue your race. You're not going to run away because it's hard. You're going to run even though it's hard. You're going to continue to press. Why? Because there's someplace that God is taking you. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, when we keep our faith in Jesus, when we keep our faith in God, when we understand that what we're going through may be hard in the moment, but I promise you, no father disciplines their child just for sport. No, they discipline them so that they can be prepared to run their race the way they need to, so that they can be who he has created them to be. I'll give you a prime example. The other day, my daddy called my name. He came, he said, I need to talk to you. I said, and he corrected me. Now listen, I could have said, you ain't correcting me in 55 years. Who do you think you are to correct me now? But I understood that you know someone is your father when they're not afraid to correct you. You know someone loves you when they're not afraid to correct you in love. You know someone is following their commission when they say the tough stuff, but you know it's not designed to destroy you. This is where we struggle. We struggle with the discipline that's necessary in order to be a track star. Oh my God, baby, I just had a whole epiphany. We struggle with the discipline required to be a track star when we feel like somehow the discipline is not coming from a place of love. When we feel like the discipline is coming from some other motive. When we feel like the discipline is not designed to make us better. But regardless of how we feel, listen, God knows the discipline we need in the season that we need it. And he also knows how we need it. If we can accept the discipline of our earthly father, listen, if we can accept the discipline of our earthly father, how much more should we be willing to accept the discipline from our heavenly father, who knows the end from the beginning, who knows everything about us, who sees everything, who knows everything that's in our hearts? How much more should we be able to accept that? Because not only does the love and the discipline show, not only does the discipline show love, it also shows his commitment to our destiny and to us getting there. Think about it like this. I know a young lady, and she is literally a track star. I've been fascinated with her speed, with what she's been able to accomplish. Fascinated with the gift that God gave her. Fascinated with it. But the gift without discipline does not yield the harvest it's designed to yield. It is when you combine the gift with discipline that you get the big results. It's when you combine the gift with the discipline that you see the breakthrough. And the discipline doesn't always look good, nor does it always feel good, but it's necessary. No one can be a great track star if they don't discipline their bodies, if they don't learn to pace themselves, if they don't go to practice, if they don't put the work in, if they don't build up their endurance. See, you can't be a distance runner on a sprinter workout. Come on, somebody. You can't be a distance runner on a sprinter workout with a sprinter training schedule, with a sprinter training mindset, right? With a sprinter mindset, you will never be a successful distance runner. And many of us have been in this thing called life with a sprinter mentality. We've been sprinting. We've been trying to get it now, get it fast, make it happen. Listen, without understanding that the race is not given to the swift, my God, nor to the strong, but to those who will endure until the very end. Endurance is the key. And that's why the Apostle Paul talks about in Hebrews 12 the significance of this great crowd of witness. This great crowd of witnesses, a great cloud of witnesses who are there cheering you on, because sometimes you need some cheerleaders in your life. Sometimes you need some people when you're at the point where you're ready to give in because the race has gotten to be a lot and your body's gotten tired and you're experiencing fatigue. Sometimes you need to look up in the stands and see some people saying, come on, you got this. You got this. You can do this. I know you've got this. It is that makes the difference between quitting and continuing on. See, Paul is telling them, listen, God not only disciplines you to prove his love for you, but you need to hold on to the end, because in the end is where you receive your victory. It's when you get the opportunity to do a victory lap. It's where you get your reward. It's where you find your winner station. Listen, that is in the end, but you got to get there. So you can't give up along the way. You can't give up along the way. It is God. It is God who strengthens us, who is the author and the finisher of our faith. And it is our faith that allows us to continue. When what we're experiencing in the world would say, quit, give up. You've been doing it this long. Why are you going to change now? Listen, don't nobody love you. They don't care about you. Why are you going to keep going? Oh, you haven't had success yet. You haven't made that million yet. Why you want to keep trying? Why you keep saying that? Why you keep believing that? Why you keep trying to be this person that the world says that you can be? Girl, you can't do that. Only Jesus can do that. They want to convince you that it's not in you, that you don't have the ability, that you won't make it and you won't succeed, that it's in vain, it's for naught, it's not significant. But baby, can I tell you something? That crowd of witnesses are your ancestors who've gone ahead of you, who've paved the way, who went through their own stuff so that you could run this race. So when you start getting weary and you want to give up, what better time than in the month of February to recognize and acknowledge that crowd of witnesses that have gone before you? Harriet, who endured slavery, but got her freedom and didn't stop there. She went back to bring other people to freedom. She could have gotten her freedom and gone on about her business. Absolutely, she could have. But she didn't. She understood that her assignment was greater than just her freedom. Her assignment was the freedom of all those who were assigned to her. And she knew that everybody wouldn't go. I put a post up and I said, when Jesus said, whosoever will, he said that for a reason, because he knew some people wouldn't. Harriet knew some people wouldn't make it. She knew that they wanted freedom, but they didn't know how to get freedom, that they wouldn't be able to endure the trials necessary to get to the freedom, that they would want to quit. They would want to turn back. And that's why she told them before they ever left, listen, once we leave, oh, it ain't no turning back, because I'll have to kill you, because then you threaten my freedom and the freedom of all those people that I've been assigned to set free. So I can't let your momentary weakness, I can't let your weariness cost other people their freedom because you decided to give up. You're a runner and you're a track star. And you're going to run even when it's hard. And you're going to endure all the stuff you must. And you're going to go through everything required. And you're going to learn to pace yourself. And you're going to learn when to turn up the steam and when to turn it down. And when you get tired and you get weary and you think you can't do it, you're going to look up and you're going to see a great cloud of witnesses cheering you on, saying you got this, saying you can do this, saying you can do, keep running, keep going. And if by chance, listen to this, I want y'all to hear me clearly. If by chance you find yourself in a place where you fall and you're ready to just lay there, know that he will send someone to come pick you up, wrap their arm around you, and help you to the finish line. One of my favorite inspirational videos is this of a track runner, and he falls and he injures himself. His father is his coach. And his father comes out of the stands and he goes down to the sideline and out onto the track. And they're trying to stop him. And he says, no, I got to get to my son. And he goes to his son and he picks him up and he helps the son limp all the way across the finish line. How much more so will God do that for us? How much more so when we think it's over and we're just laying there, devastated. Not only did we lose the race, but we were injured. When we want to quit, when we want to give up, now you might not like it, and it might not feel good, and it might hurt, and you might be sad, and you might be weary, but it's important to cross the finish line. I remember when I was in high school, I ran track. Yeah, I waited late to do sports because I was determined to fight all the stereotypes because I was tall and black. I had to be athletic. Why can't I just be smart is what I said. But I saw the enjoyment that people were getting from sports, and I wanted to play. I wanted to experience some of that camaraderie, that team bonds that they had. I wanted to be able to be out there and get in the game and not simply be on the sideline, which is what I was doing. Yeah, I was a manager. I made sure they got their vitamin C. I made sure that they had enough basketballs out there when I played basketball. When it came to track, I made sure that they had the water that they needed. But I decided at some point that I wanted to get in the game. And I remember my coach put me in the hurdles because I had super long legs, right? So he put me in the hurdles and he had me doing what was then, I want to say it was the 330 hurdles, right? I was doing the 330 hurdles and I ran more distance, like semi-distance. I ran the 400 meter or the mile as it was called then. They began the conversion. So I ran the distance, the longer hurdles. And I remember Melissa Temple ran the 110 hurdles. That was the quick hurdles where you go chop, chop, jump, chop, chop, jump, chop, chop, jump, chop. Now that required a lot of coordination. And I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't have the best coordination. Okay. So I need a little more time. Do, leap. Like I needed that. Do. Then, like, I'm just telling y'all, I needed it. But this particular day, she was out. He said, Duncan, I'm putting you in the 110 hurdles. I was like, what? Why? Me? I can't do that. He said, you got it, Duncan. Go on and get in there. So I got in the blocks. And I came out of the blocks. And I chop, 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 leap, chop, 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 leap, chop, 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 leap. And then I chop, chop, chop. My leap was a little late. My foot hit the hurdle and I fell directly on my knee. I couldn't even brace myself. I just fell on my knee and my knee felt like someone had stabbed me. And there I was on the track, hurting, embarrassed, and I didn't want to get up. And our Coach Matt Tipton, came out there and he screamed in my face, get up, Duncan, get up. And I'm like, Coach Tipton, look, I'm hurt, okay? Can I just go on off the side? He said, no, get up and you cross that finish line. He said, you hear me, Duncan? You cross that finish line. And I got up and all the pain that I was in. And I made my way across that finish line. And it was a lesson I'll never forget. Because sometimes you need somebody in your face to tell you, get up and cross the finish line. Don't you stop. I know you hurt, but get up anyway. I know you embarrassed, but get up anyway. I know you feel away, but get up anyway. I know you want to give up on it, but get up anyway. And I found myself having to apply that principle to my life. Now, looking at my track record with marriages, you may say, well, I don't see it showing up there. Listen, believe me, I never left a marriage unless I'd given it everything I could give it before I left. But what I did do is I never gave up on the institution and I never gave up on God. I understood that there was something going on with me. I'd never say it was their fault. No, it was me. It was me. Were there things about them that were problematic? Absolutely. Were there challenges in our marriages? Absolutely. But the real issue was that I could not see me clearly. But I didn't quit. I didn't give up. on the institution. I understood the problem wasn't the institution. I understood, though, that there were some things that I needed to do in me that would allow the institution to be what God needed it to be in my life. You all, it's easy to quit. It's easy to give up on yourself, give up on people, give up on relationships, give up on God. It's easy to quit. The hard part is being able to dissect what happened, dissect what's going on, and figure out what you need to do. See, that dissecting comes with discipline. Yet God has to discipline us. Just like our natural earthly fathers discipline us, God has to discipline us and say, hey, that's your pride right there. Oh, you don't want to cross the finish line because your pride is in the way. You embarrassed. So now you just want to lay there and say, I've fallen and I can't get up. You tried a couple of times and it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. So you just want to give up to avoid the embarrassment of looking like a failure to someone else. Our pride gets in the way so many times of what God desires to do in our lives. And until we learn to allow him to discipline us in the areas that we need it, until we allow ourselves to receive the discipline in the manner in which it's given from a place of love. Because our Father knows what he has for us, but he also knows we can't get to it until we've gone through the discipline. And discipline doesn't feel good. And trials and tribulations don't feel good. And falling on your knee doesn't feel good. But if you will, focus your eyes on Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, which is the fuel that keeps us going. Have you ever noticed when you radically believe something, how you can keep going in spite of every obstacle that comes your way? But the moment you stop believing, everything just seems to peter out. Faith is our fuel to continue the race. What does that crowd do? They boost our faith. What does that coach do? He boosts our faith so that we can continue to run the race that's set before us. I was talking to my spiritual sister this morning, and she said, sis, I'm so proud of you. You're so courageous. And you keep running this race in spite of what it looks like, what it feels like, or what anybody thinks about it. Like, you keep running because I believe God. Believe God, what he said about you. Believe God, what he promised you. Believe God. Let that faith fuel your race and keep running. And when you get weary, it's okay to be weary. Just keep your eyes on the author and the finisher of your faith. So check this out. I want you to check this out. In the midst of everything going on in your life, you always have choices. You get to choose. God is a God of choice. He's not going to make you do anything. He always gives options. And when you choose to take the option that gets you to destiny, you get there. When the disciples were on the boat and Jesus was walking on the water, Peter said, Jesus, is that you? He said, yeah. He was like, man, I want to be out there. Tell me to come to you. Tell me to come to you. Jesus said, come on. And Peter got out the boat and he was hyped, boy. He was hyped. He got out the boat. He on the water like, yeah. Looking in Jesus' face. Oh, I'm going to Jesus. I'm going to Jesus. He was solid on the water, baby. It was water, but it was solid. And he was walking. And then the wind got stronger. And then the waves got bigger. And he stopped looking at Jesus and paid attention to his circumstances. And he found himself seeking. See, the reason it's so important to keep your eyes locked on Jesus is when you begin to sink, he restores your faith by reaching out and saying, I've got you. And today, God is reaching out to restore your faith and say, I've got you. No matter what it looks like, no matter what it seems like, no matter what the obstacles are, no matter how many times you've stopped in the race, no matter how many times you've fallen, he's saying, get up. I got you. And when you feel like you're at the point where you can't go any longer, he'll send someone alongside you to hold you up and to cross the finish line with you. They won't say, just go. They'll understand that you can't go without them. You may say, Dr. V, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know that he'll do that? How do you know? Well, let me tell you how I know. In January, and some of you heard me talk about it, in January, I'd gotten to the point where I was suffering from depression and I was suicidal. And I wanted to quit. And I had to fight through. One night was really bad. I had to fight through the night. I had to fight through that night. I had to fight through that night. I just had to fight through that night. Actually, it was December. It was in December. And I fought through the night. I made it to the other side because there was a lot of stuff happening and coming against me. And I made it through that night. And in January, when I was sad, when I was missing my daddy, a week later, God revealed to me that my biological father was out there. Now, people can say what they want about ancestry, DNA. They can say what they want about my journey. God knew. He knew I needed my daddy. He knew I needed my daddy in a way that I didn't even know how to articulate to anyone. And because I didn't think it was possible, because I thought my daddy was gone. But he knew that I needed this man that I didn't know existed. He knew that I needed him so that I could understand me. I could understand why I was the way I was. Certain patterns, certain traits, certain characteristics. He knew that there was a hole that was specifically for him that remained empty. And he wanted to fill it. And because I kept going, I just kept going. I just kept living. And it's so funny because I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine the day I called my biological sister, my half-sister on my daddy's side, trying to get in touch with him, trying to find out how to reach him. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and he said, V, you know, what you doing? And I was like, look, what? He said, V, it's like, you don't even care about anything. I was like, look, I'm here. What? And people aren't used to seeing me not being driven, not being connected. But I was totally disconnected. I was disconnected. I was living life, but I was watching myself live life, and I was disconnected from the experience. I was simply doing what I had to do. But the passion was gone. The drive was gone. I was going, but it wasn't the same. And something happened that gave me hope when I talked to my sister. The thought that this man who was my father, the thought of meeting him, regardless of what the outcome was, whether he accepted me or rejected me, the thought of meeting him began to give me hope. The thought of talking to him gave me hope. And with that first conversation, my life flipped. We were playing Uno Flip or Flip Uno. And in that game, when you get a certain card and it's played, the flip card, you flip the hand, right? You flip the cards. It's the same hand, but it's flipped. And I feel like that's what happened in my life. I've got the same hand, but it's flipped. So what I see is different. You guys, today I'm telling you, God is giving you your flip card. So whatever it's been, you got the same hand, but flip it, because there's more that he wants you to see, more that he wants you to experience, more that he wants you to know. But you were built for this, made for this, and you are equipped for this. It is your destiny, and it is your purpose. And you have a great crowd of witnesses cheering you on. I had people cheering me on that I didn't even know. That's why family is important. That's why the generations before you are important. That's why those who have gone on are important. Feel their cheers. Feel their support, even when you don't feel it around you in the natural. Feel it in the spirit so that you can know that in the natural, you can keep running so that you can finish your race. You've been built for it. It is your destiny. So today I pray that you heard something that blessed you, that encouraged you, that inspired you to keep running. It's not in vain. I'm telling you, that night that I went through, that I cried and cried out to God, the panic attacks I had, the anxiety that I felt, all the things that I've ever gone through in my life were designed to prepare me and equip me for where I find myself today, so that I could tell somebody, you can do this. I did. And it's not that God is a respecter of persons. He's not. But he's a respecter of our faith. It's what we believe, what we do with that belief, and how we act on it that creates a change in our life. Baby, you can change your life just by believing God and taking what my daddy likes to say, one step. Because the promises of God are on the other side of that one step. It all begins to come together and roll like a snowball, falls like dominoes. It happens when we believe God enough to take one. Everything else will begin to go. Listen, I pray this word blessed you. I want to give you the opportunity to sow a seed into the ministry, Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministry. You can Cash App $ Passionate Pursuit, Cash App $ Passionate Pursuit, or PayPal.me/Passionate Pursuit. It's streaming down there at the bottom in the banner. Listen, if God so leads you, sow a seed and watch what God does with that seed, because this is good ground. Know this. Know that I absolutely love you all to life and life more abundant. Run your race because it's yours. Don't get weary. Keep your eyes on Jesus. Don't faint under the discipline. Know that it is for your good and not your harm or destruction. Now let's get it because God's promised it. In the words of, listen, David said this, right? I know I'm supposed to be done, but listen, I got to say this, right? So David, when after they'd had a battle, they'd gone back to their homeland, and they discovered that the women and children were gone, and the people had stolen everything. They had ransacked it, and David went to God and said, God, shall I pursue? I'm telling you, it's pursuit time. Let's go get what God promised us. I love you guys to life and life more abundant. Have an amazing, incredible, and epic day. Know that you're the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, the lender and not the borrower. Everything that's happened in your life has been designed not to destroy you, but to get you to God's promise for your life. Go get it. Be blessed.